I call this work session to order. All right. Let's start with our goals discussion. You want to give us a little intro, Scott?
Sure. We had the brainstorming session last week. We had, I think, close to 50 goals that were presented. And I kind of combined a couple of them, but tried to give you some general ideas to what the goals were. And, you know, I leaned on Brenda and Roger a few times because I wasn't in their session. And an estimated cost is just estimated, you know, based upon, you know, looking things up and going with some items that were available from 2 years ago when we adopted goals. And then the funding source. So the idea tonight is obviously to open it up for discussion if anybody needs a better explanation as to what a goal means, or, you know, any staff input or anything along those lines. But then you each have 10 dots. It used to be 5. And then Jeff, there wasn't enough for Jeff, so we moved to 6, then we went to 8, then we went to 10.
Still not enough for Jeff.
I know. Yeah, of the 50 items up there, I think 38 were Jeff's.
Yeah, pretty close.
But the idea is that council will take some time to go up there and assign their 10 dots to their 10 highest priority goals. Then what we will do at a subsequent council meeting, and staff will again revise those, put the high priority goals on top, so that those is what staff will focus on as far as achieving those highest level goals that the city council has voted on. You'll actually adopt a goals plan, and that will be the direction for the next 2 years.
And would not those goals be tied to the budget as well?
Oh, absolutely.
So when we're sitting down and discussing the budget, what we want to spend on the budget is when those goals will really come into focus.
And we've been working on, staff has been working on the budget for last couple of months already. Melissa's done a great job putting things together, and the department heads, for the most part, have been realistic.
Just on tables.
Sometimes it's the little things that bug them the most. But once the council adopts a set of goals, then we'll go back and revise the budget, make sure that we've kind of hit on those items. They're not always achievable within one fiscal year, but we certainly try to do them within 2, or at least have them in progress by the end of 2. So yes, the financing and staff resources as well is what will be guided by the goals we adopt in a couple of weeks.
All right. Well, let's open it up for discussion.
I have a couple of questions.
So do I.
What is East US 31 access?
Actually, and I shrunk them down to get them to fit there a little bit. There was in my group the cool kids.
Hey, now, we didn't know we were supposed to do
But
that.
named our group the cool kids. That is centered on getting access from basically from Peterson Road, where the city boundary stops, to the other side of US 31 on the east side, basically a connection to Walmart for pedestrians. They did that under 120, probably about 5 or 6 years ago when they completely rebuilt that intersection. Without a complete rebuild, I don't know if that's possible just to add a sidewalk, because you've got the guardrail, you've got a couple of feet, and then you've got the bank of the overpass. Plus, it's all outside the city jurisdiction. But the idea was that we would cooperate and collaborate with getting pedestrian access to. They didn't want to say Walmart, the person who proposed it, but that's what they wanted.
Okay, and the other question is Colby Warner traffic light and Colby pedestrian crossing. That has to be approved by the state, right? And
Yes.
Would they help fund that if council decided that was a needed thing?
The Colby pedestrian crossing, Brian Armstrong's already working with the MDOT TSC on that, and that looks like it's going to happen at their cost. A traffic light, that would probably be on us because we're initiating it, and MDOT loves to say, hey, if you initiated it, you must really want it more than us, because if it was a real traffic concern, we would initiate it on our own. And the price that's in there, I'm not sure where it's at, that's based upon the overhead mast arms that we looked at for phase 4 of the downtown. And again, it's a good estimate. And I know that the traffic light at Colby and Warner, MDOT conversations we've had with them, they're not opposed to having a light there, but they will not support a second light in that close of an area. Basically, the one at the by Walgreens, Arby's, and by Taco Bell.
Oh, yeah.
They would say that because we've also talked about one at Peterson and Colby, and they said no,
That's too close.
spacing is too close. So they would, if we wanted to push for that, they would probably relocate one of them. I don't know if Warner's far enough that they wouldn't have to relocate, but certainly they would not put one in at Peterson Road and leave the one at the shopping.
What page is that price on?
The Colby and Warner one?
Yeah.
Page 2.
You're not on the same document that he's on.
This one, the one that,
Yeah, it's about $79,000 a year.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, installation, and $500 a year for utilities. Because we do pay for. I'm going to double check. We do pay for the traffic light downtown, the utility bill. Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's the only one I can think of right now.
We're just going to go down the line?
Sure.
Is that what we're
If
doing?
you want.
Okay. First one is the first thing listed there. I just don't understand why it's even on the list, but we don't control what the high school does with their buildings or their money. I mean, we can make suggestions, but
Well, I think that was part of it, and that maybe there would, because right now we do participate in the Sports and Shorts, which is the youth summer activity program. That's actually funded. I don't know how much the schools fund it themselves, but there's a significant funding from the City of Whitehall and Montague for that. So I think the idea was that the City of Whitehall would encourage White Lake area community ed to start adult basketball leagues, and I don't know if there needs to be. I think the pickleball's pretty strong right now. I don't think there's any official leagues, but that was kind of the idea behind it. And yeah, we didn't. Any and every idea was open. I mean, the one to get access over to Walmart is way beyond our control.
yeah.
But we still included it.
Okay. Next one I had was under downtown goals. Add tables to Mears Promenade. 3. What's the 3?
Three tables.
3 tables?
Yeah, about $2,200 each. Those are the heavy metal with the. It's more than a powder coat.
I guess $2,200 for a picnic table.
Yeah, it's similar material to the
it's just stuff from
charging station.
stuff from Dumore, isn't it? Like the
I mean, we can certainly go cheaper, but
Stuff
I'd
that
rather
matches
have a
the benches
little
and-
sticker shock now than later.
I just wasn't sure if that's what all that was, because you had talked before about those 3 parking spots along Bell's,
that is,
barricading them off and putting picnic tables in there, and I didn't know if that's
the promenade's
what-
essentially empty right now. If you look at it,
that's
there's
what
like
this
2
was,
tables.
or if this was
That's also yes,
for back by where the
Yeah.
library's picnic table is at.
that as well.
Yeah, the ed tables, the one that you're referencing to, my impression was that that's more
Beyond
tables
the concrete.
by the sledding hill.
Yeah, okay,
2 down is replace on-street parking with social district tables.
okay.
And I think the request was 2 or 3 tables on
Probably
there.
good enough for.
Okay, let's see, on the next page, increase maintenance of Slocum switchback. We have a price there, but, I mean, how much are we talking about increasing? I mean, it's pretty much non-existent right now, so. I mean, being in the kind of lawn care and whatever business, I'd say somebody should be looking at it at least every 2 weeks, but, it needs put on a regular maintenance schedule, just like the lawns are. And it doesn't really say, it just says other than increase, so I just wondered if we could clarify that a little bit more before, you know.
Didn't the, what's that group? Didn't they come in and
Muskegon Conservation
yeah,
District.
didn't they come in and cut that down a couple years ago?
They've been in there a couple of times and they've cleared everything out because we had some invasive species in there. And it just keeps getting a little bit overgrown. We had a couple of church groups, some nearby residents
Yes.
have been in there. The $2,000 per year is, I believe that's most of those costs, like the maintenance costs, are based upon DPW being in there, and I think that was through the summer once a week to two employees. I was gonna say man hours, but that's so 2 employees, probably a day in there. Once a
People
week.
hours.
People hours.
There
Yep.
you go.
Okay,
Couldn't, oh, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Related to that, couldn't we change what's planted there to reduce maintenance and make it look better?
From day one, that was the intent. Is that because there's no irrigation and we wanted to have low maintenance vegetation, which unfortunately is the invasive species. They do their own
That's
thing.
why they grow so well.
And that's why the district was in there twice pulling everything out of there. So we do try and go with low maintenance vegetation. But
Like
that,
Myrtle, I would think would, over a couple of years, would fill in real nice.
yeah.
Not need to be mowed and everything.
Yeah, I don't think we do much mowing there at all. It's mostly weed
Yeah.
and
Just the
cutting
edges,
stuff
though.
back.
Yeah, I think you've gone like along like a foot along
Yeah.
each edge just to
Yes.
keep it from
Yep.
coming out.
Next thing down I had was the next one under it, was install lighting at Slocum Switchback. Is there any way that we can look into what's available, maybe with solar lighting for that, instead of hardwired and metered and whatever?
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
I mean, I know we're not in the perfect climate for solar all the time, but I
Yeah,
think
we can do that. The price there was based upon the bids for the Goodrich Park Marina lights that should be going up soon. They're supposed to be starting to work on them this week, but it's been kind of rainy.
And one other one I had was install pedestrian crossing on Colby with flashing lights. Where on Colby are we looking at that? That would be my suggestion, but
Was that the one at Franklin's got?
Franklin.
Yeah.
I just pulled down there yesterday, right when the kids were going from the middle school area over to Funnel Field. You know, and you got the traffic on Colby and you got the sidecars pulling down on Franklin, and the kids are just standing there and they don't, you know, the one guy in front of me finally waved to the kids that were standing there and he just told them, put his window down and said, "I'm going to sit here till you get across."
A lot of times, and we certainly encourage the schools to notify the police department, and we have block traffic when we know that when they do field day over at Funnel. We've done that in the past. This would be obviously a lot more sustainable.
Is this something like similar to the ones they have over in Montague, or is this something, you know, like just like the walk part of the light downtown?
It would probably be more towards something that Montague has, because we're not going to stop traffic where we'd have the walk, do not walk. It'll be more of the flashing lights. You know, somebody could walk up there and press a button and starts flashing, and we ask that car stop. And they're supposed to once people are in the crosswalk. But you don't want to be the first kid walking out there when the cars are coming.
Might help slow the traffic down a little bit on the road too. On
Yeah.
Colby, but-
Michiganders aren't too good at giving pedestrians the right of way.
Yeah, the only other one I had was develop beautification plan for downtown and East Colby. Is same thing there would be, you know, it needs to be put on some kind of a regular scheduled maintenance, you know, just like lawn mowing and everything else, so we're not not forgetting about it, and then it gets out of hand. But that's all I had.
I'd like to throw in, Steve, when you talked about the pedestrian safe passageway through, I call it a safe passageway through their business district. There's a number of gaps in the sidewalk at this point. I mean, if we could just get those gaps filled to Whitehall from the city to the highway.
Where are the gaps in the city?
They're in front
the
of,
township.
in the town, there's none in the city, but from the township.
Anything from Shell all the way down to the light.
Correct. And
Other side of the road, there is
Yeah.
a couple, but
Yeah.
that went in after they passed that ordinance out there that says that they have to put them in.
But that's the only section that doesn't have sidewalks. I know it's in the township and it's not on us, but I've spoke to a number of township officials about that, and they like the idea but don't see any chance of that happening.
Oh.
So, yes, at this point, bring it up to, if the public was asking for it, you'd have a greater chance.
Yeah,
Sidewalks aren't that expensive. Trying to get under the highway is gonna cost a lot of money, and
oh yeah.
that I don't see that realistically happening for a while, but that, to fill in that gap would at least allow safe walking through there, to all the businesses in their district, short of Walmart. So to me, it's still a lofty goal, and it's a worthwhile goal to try to see if we can make something happen like that. But for our goals, we don't have control over it.
Right.
I'm gonna skip you.
Okay. Give me that hand.
Sorry.
You're all right, buddy. We're good.
Sorry, John.
Oh, we're good.
I had my hand up before you.
Yes.
Okay, mine are, I think these questions are good and it's helpful to me, and I want to thank Scott for putting this together. And I appreciate you're also sending out my reorganized version. I was trying to look at everything and I thought it made sense to, it fit into specific categories that were different than you had, and also I like to see what was like repairs and maintenance versus new projects. So maybe I'm a visual learner, I don't know. So thanks for sending that out, Scott. One thing though, I'm going to try to go over these really quick, and they're not specific questions, so I don't want to truncate that process. But I did, after I made copies because I didn't know you were going to send it out, Scott, thank you. But then I realized there was something that I had mentioned in the goal session that didn't get on. Maybe it wasn't, sorry, Beth, maybe it wasn't written.
I don't know.
Not a big deal, but it's actually an analysis of climate risk. So just to what degree the city of Whitehall is vulnerable to some impacts like flooding and just things like that. Not a big deal, of course, but anyway, that's why I put that on your paper copy that you have. But one of the things that I'm wondering, and I want to continue to hear the questions that people have. I don't have as much specific questions as I'm wondering if we have the ability to slow things down a little. I would like a few more precise estimates. Some of the estimates, it just didn't help me make a decision. I just thought, well, I'm sure that in the short time that you had, you know what I mean? But I'm still thinking, that's just hard for me to decide. I'd like to see, and kind of remove to a different list, things that are already city priorities. If we're already working on something and it's not something that we can take off our priority list, but it got up there, I don't want to waste my vote on it. So I'd like to see us, if possible, these are our existing city priorities that we have to work on for whatever reason. And some of those are the maintenance and repairs, you know what I mean? So if you look at it, continued street improvements, well, we're gonna keep working on that. Sidewalk improvements, crosswalk, paintings, even the city website, it says upgrade the city website. Well, that should be a part of regular, every 5 years, that should be into the budget that we somehow do that. So I'd like to see, these are things we're always gonna do, or we're gonna do at least for the future. And then And then I'd like to see a category where we pull out minor things, like the $100 to the Great Lakes Loop, which I think it's a great idea, but it's not a goal. It's not a goal to spend $100 to get us on the Great Lakes Loop. So we're kind of mixing things up here, even though that's a good thing to do. So if we could pull out some minor things that, again, we don't want to waste our major vote on. And then, I apologize, Scott, because I want a little more here.
Don't apologize to me. I'm with you.
And I'd like to see a little more information, like, and maybe I'm even thinking of a small committee that would sit down for a couple hours, council members, and just go through this with you. What's the benefit and the impact of these goals? You know, what's the feasibility of some of them? I mean, if it's not feasible, do we just gotta move it off? You know, potential risk. And then I'd also like to find a way to get a little more community feedback. I mean, we had a feedback session. I mean, we had our goal session. I think it was mostly staff and council members, which is fine, but I'd like to have the opportunity to refine this a little bit and say, hey, you know, we're checking out with you folks, give us a little feedback and, you know, ask for a little more input. It was a little quick. So I made a list of this if you want it. So I don't want to stop all of these questions, which I think are good, but I'm hoping that we can take a step back and just look at it and get it into just a little better shape for us to be able to vote wisely, I guess.
Well, if I may address a couple of those. We didn't, as I mentioned earlier, I think with Mr. Brown's comments, is, you know, we weren't going to pull anything off. Anything that was brought up, we put onto the list. You probably did want staff to have that editorial capability because you might only see one sheet up there. And there is, and I hear where you're going with, you know, what's already in our goals as far as our master plan, parks and rec plan.
Well, parks, we're always going to work on our parks. You know?
We are, but there's always a list in there, just like this is a list, and what we're looking for is what on those lists, the ones that are up on the wall plus in those plans, are most important to this council for the next 2 years. And the little things, we still work on those little things. You know, if you look at, you know, we've got high priority, low priority, and some that didn't get any votes that we still addressed to some degree or another. And I think that's the only comment I have is that we still chip away at some of the little things, if you will.
Well, I just think it would be more useful, at least to me. That's my personal idea. Is that it would be, I feel like the time that we're spending is a little better spent if we put a little more time before we voted. So, but if that's my only opinion, I'll do the best I can.
Well, that's certainly valid, and I'm all for putting it before the council and saying, do we want to do this? Do we want to make these choices today, or do we want to put it off for further consideration? Do we want to make our choices and then put it out there and then offer the opportunity to reconsider those choices? I don't think this should be the end all today. I think this should just maybe help us come together on what we want to do as a council.
Well, the only thing
And
is
we all have our own
yeah. It's
special
just that
things we'd like, so
it'd make it easier for me to vote if, for example, I like the $100 Great Lakes Loop thing, but I've got 10 votes and I'd rather not vote on that. So that's why I'd like that. Some of these things that are already, already going on, I don't want to have to vote on those, even though I think they're important. So I
think your point of not voting on streets and sidewalks is valid, because as you say, we are going to continue to work on those things. I think these are things that essentially we're going to cultivate our own pet goals here that we'd like to have, and then try to come to an agreement on which one of those are best for the overall community.
If I can chime in,
Yes.
my apologies.
Yes.
Some of those might need dots as a reaffirmation. There could be a point where a city council decide, roads are good enough. We're done fixing them. It's really, a constant, as I've said before, we got 26 miles of road, and we can, if we're doing a mile a year, that's a pretty good pace. And that's a 26-year period when roads will last maybe 30 years. So it's really never ending. But I think as far as a priority, when you look at, I think this is about $3 million worth of items up on this wall. I added up some of them. I think you did a more comprehensive math on it. Again, where do we direct the limited resources? Is it going to be all on streets? Some on streets, some on parks, a little bit here. That's where, if you're still voting on streets and sidewalks, we know that's again, it's a reaffirmation that is where we need to focus as we're putting the budget together. Where can we squeeze as much money as we can to those items with 7 stickers, 7 dots? So.
Is there a reason we need to get it done tonight, though? I mean, is it needed, like, I know we have our budget in May, right? I mean, is there a reason that we need to get it done tonight?
From a staff perspective, sooner is better than later. But tonight is not. I mean, we're not going to go on Warner Street and pull barricades and say, "Hold on, guys." So, no, is the short answer to your question.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Is there anything else?
No, mine, like I said, mine are more kind of big picture, like how do you make sense of all of this, and how do you vote wisely. I mean, I take my responsibility as a council member seriously, as I know everybody else on council does as well, and I just, I think this has probably worked well in the past, but I just think, I don't think it would hurt for us to kind of take a look. There's a whole bunch of new things on there. I'd like to sit down and talk to the people who presented the new things, up there, and get a better feel for, what support you think there is in the community for doing some of those new things versus, just staying the course with some of the, things we've got going on. So, and there's a lot up here, we're a small city and we have a lot going on. So anyway, I'll do whatever other council members want. That's just kind of my main comment, is I'd like to take a step back and think it through just a little more.
Well, I think what I'd like to see is we'll continue to go through each individual's
Sure.
chance and then address the whole thing again at the end. So
That's
yeah.
Tanya, I agree. I think there's a lot of stuff up there. There's a lot of stuff and I don't know how widely your version got put out.
To count, so yeah.
But I think there's an opportunity to group some things together that would make one vote go a little bit further than, just like you said, to waste a vote or not vote on it because it seems little. I like the idea of grouping things together, and I think you've got a good start here. The other thing is, with respect to taking streets and sidewalks up, I'm kind of struggling with, I know this is goal setting, not budget, but they have to go kind of hand in hand. And so streets are really important to me. I think that's for me, it's a quality of life when I'm driving down the streets. That's a quality of life issue for me. And it's important. So I mean, if I could put all 10 stickers there, I would, but it's not going to change the fact that we can't afford to do it. We don't have 26 million? Probably more than that, right? Because didn't the per mile rate go up?
That's based on the 26,
Okay.
or that's based upon roughly 2 million.
So yeah, so it's I'm struggling with the budget versus the thing, and I think taking a little time to maybe group them together a little bit, maybe take some of the things off that we maybe are not feasible, like maybe the sidewalk under the bridge is just not something we're going to be able to focus on. So I'm okay with taking a step back as well. I like that idea. I guess just with specific pieces, we've got sorry, Steve, right behind you, the greenhouse audit and energy audit. Are they?
Oh, that's the same. That's the same. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it as the same. The greenhouse audit, I believe, was yours as far as
Greenhouse emissions.
all city operations, which include trucks, lawnmowers, leaf blowers, all of that is the way again, it gets shortened down. the energy audit, I think, was on the city buildings. Can we be more energy efficient in City Hall with new furnaces, better insulation, better insulated glass? I'm always shocked. We've had 3, I've probably repeated myself, but that's government. Every 7 years it comes back around. We've had at least 3 energy audits of City Hall, and not once have they recommended taking away that wall of glass in the hallway. They said that the cost and the benefit just isn't there, which, I mean, you look at schools, the older schools, that's what they did back in the 80s. I mean, they pulled out windows left and right and bricked things up with just a couple of windows. So I think those were kind of different.
Well, and you're right, and I kind of, and I apologize, because I think in my mind, and for this one, I kind of regrouped, because I know that somebody else in the other one did the energy, and I looked at it and thought, oh, energy audit is fine for our purposes. So that's my mistake in kind of conflating those two in this document. So, but I'd like to start somewhere. Often, when you do an energy audit, they do find some cost savings. So,
Well, for those who are newer this round to council, we just had a lengthy analysis, which is the amount that I have for the energy audit. That was with Terry Sokolis. And that kind of what it came down to, we're going to do this big energy audit, and you're going to pay us if you don't reach. I mean, there wasn't a comfort level in going forward and spending the amount of money we were being asked to spend, with some assurances that we were really going to save money. I know North Muskegon did it and had success, but I know staff wasn't comfortable with the proposal, and I think the council at that time was a little leery as well. It was not what we were hoping for.
It seemed it was gonna cost more to do that audit than we were gonna get back.
Yeah.
At least in the short term part of it anyhow.
Yeah.
From what-
Sure.
Okay. Jeff?
Just 2 points of clarification. The community hub up there was actually supposed to be community market. Just so you guys are aware of it. And the other thing, the North Mears structure got missed and didn't get put on the list.
It's up there.
Is it? Where's that?
It's up there. Did you start Promenade Pavilion?
Oh, you snuck it up there. All right, never mind. Turn around, Jeff. No, that's all I got.
I have a couple things, and I'll start off first by saying that at the community thing, we were encouraged to quantify. And nothing on here, or at least very little on here is quantified. And that makes it more able to achieve a goal and so on. And I've noticed that in the past years. For instance, we've got the dog waste station at Funnel Park. Well, if it's not defined as 3 or 4, then you can put 1 up there and count it a success, and I don't think that would be adequate.
My apologies. That's for 3 of them.
Okay.
They were just over $300 each.
Or another one would be the sound system downtown. What is that, 1 speaker? Is it 10? Is it just for the promenade? Is it for 6 city blocks? What is that going to do? What is it?
15 speakers.
quantified
something like
goal
that.
there.
It was the Tifa district. It covered the Tifa district downtown.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much the 2 blocks on either, 1 block on either side of Mears and Colby. So like the 4 block area.
Okay. And on that one, just there was another one too with the sidewalks, for instance. We've got a $2,000 increase, but how much of the remaining is that for? It says for maintenance, but what is the maintenance on the sidewalk if it's not replacement? I mean, is that 2 separate things?
Where
It would be good if we could say that we're going to try and replace 50% of what your study found out that we need, something like that.
possibly
Um,
edge them.
yeah, the-
Sidewalks need edging.
Yeah, the increased sidewalk maintenance is primarily edging, sweeping. There's no replacement, other than later on with streets, keeping up with the street replacement and sidewalk schedule. And the sidewalks, I think Brian has estimated that we've got about $90,000 worth of sidewalks to get everything up to where it should be.
That would be a budgetary thing. How much do we wanna put in the budget to
Right.
go towards that $90,000?
Well, this says a $2,000 increase. What was last year's budget?
Well, that's maintenance. Last year we
That's just
spent-
maintenance, yeah. We did a
Yeah,
lot.
last year we spent $107,000 on sidewalk replacement,
Okay. Okay.
and we've got 90,000 more to go.
Okay. And I had a question relating to the website. Do we do any optimizing on our website to try and draw people here, to try and get clicks for people looking for tourist destinations in West Michigan, for instance?
Probably not. I think we have a link to the chamber, and I'm not sure how many bells and whistles that is going to entail to upgrade our website. You know, I've gone to dozens of other municipal websites, and I don't think ours is any worse or any better than most of them. It's basically information. It's not a lot of bells and whistles and things flying around. I know our staff does what I think is a great job. I mean, nobody's trained IT. So we maintain it in-house to try and maintain the cost. I mean, we could hire somebody to do it for us, and I think we started off doing that. And that was very cumbersome because then if we wanted to make a change, we had to get a hold of the contractor who would put it on their schedule to make the change.
Some of that, yeah.
This is kind of instantaneous.
I know. I worked with somebody, and gosh, you can go from almost nothing to more money than God has
Yes,
in
yes.
optimizing.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a point that makes sense, and it's worth considering. And I think that's all that I wanted to bring up.
Okay, well, and I agree with a lot of what Tanya said about, there's a lot of things that streets, sidewalks, those are regular part of our budget, and I don't necessarily believe that they fall under goals. I think, I didn't see anything about trees. We spend a lot of money taking care of trees, and I want to continue to take care of trees, and I think turns into once again a budgetary item, and everything here has a dollar value, so it's a budget. So everything that we talk about we want, when it gets to the budget time and we sit down with that pot of money and say, okay, well, start divvying it out, there's not going to be any money for all of this stuff. So hopefully we can, as a group, come up with, I don't know if we're going to get 10 things. If we get 2 or 3 things that we all agree on and we're willing to fund, that's a good thing. So at this point, I'm not opposed to if the council wants to take more time with this after we throw our dots on and have it looked at. I think we should come to some sort of agreement before we put our dots on. Do we want to do that, or do we want to put our dots on now and say, okay, that's it, and move forward?
Well, like the city manager said, a lot of these things that don't get any dots still end up on a list, and you look a couple years down the road and a lot of them are done, even though nobody voted for that particular thing. These are all goals that somebody on the council was interested in, and a lot of them have merit even if nobody puts a dot on them. And they might get done anyway, correct?
Correct.
We had quite a, I mean, not all about your group, but we had quite a few local citizens, that group of 3-4 guys, they were,
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah,
they kept throwing out stuff, and I mean, it was, I was I was impressed. I thought it was.
So
it was
I'm just
good, so.
thinking if we come up with a list and then say, okay, do we present it again to the public and say, this is what the council is wanting to do? Does the community support that? So,
Won't hurt that, I think. I mean, granted, we're gonna get a lot of different, a lot of different feedback, but I think the more that we can involve the community in our decision making, the better, and we'd have to sift through that, so. Yeah, I think, maybe people would like us better.
well, that's a lofty goal.
Add it to the list.
You got 3 years before you're up for election.
So what's a consensus? Do you wanna?
If we do this, it essentially moves us to a point. I mean, we're kind of working our way towards, then once we do that, we can see as a group where everybody's sitting and what everybody's thoughts are. But I'll go with the flow. I mean,
So let's jump up and throw the dots on, then look at it and say, okay.
But I'm not gonna throw my dots on little things.
Yeah.
I-
I'd rather see it moved up.
So
No,
that's
it's a slope
the
part.
problem. If I don't throw my dots on these little things,
I'm getting out
Coles,
so I'd like to.
by the railroad.
Yeah.
Bridge.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just,
The
they're not,
one- the
it's
one
not a
where the
goal, it's not a
memorial's at.
goal to spend
Oh, okay.
$100 on
This
the
is
Great Lakes Loop, that's not a goal.
This is Slocum right here.
Goals are different, goals are bigger things.
goals are measurable.
They're-
You can go down the list of what a goal is, and by definition,
That's not a goal.
it's measurable.
Yeah, but that's not the only,
It's an
that's
easy one
not
to
the
measure.
So I
Depends
on how you measure it.
face instead of a dot.
What?
Put a smiley face next to it instead of a dot.
There you go.
You like it? Give me smaller
Get
dots.
them.
I mean, maybe next year we can look at this and when we come up with the goals, we can say, put a dollar limit on it. And the little stuff, the low
I
hanging
agree with
fruit
you
just
there.
kind of goes
Can't
on, and
take care of the ones we got.
the bigger ticket items. Make it up.
I will do it if that's what council wants to do, it's just that there's no urgency and there's no reason that we have to do it right now. I would like a little more organized way of doing it, but if I get outvoted, so be it. It's okay.
it's not anyone voting against another person.
I get it, you're just not in the same place.
Well, and I'm
I would go with you, $100 is just do it, and be done with it.
What? You're giving me $100?
No, I mean on the
that's
The
what it's
Great
gonna
Lake
cost,
Loop thing is
$100 to get
$100.
us on there?
Uh-huh.
right.
Is that what it's gonna cost?
Yeah, just do it.
I'll pay it.
I know.
Send me the bill, I'll pay it, I'll put it up.
You've lost the year, so. If I,
Your point is valid though. The grouping I think is, it narrows it down. I mean, these are great, but they could be grouped together to make it.
Now, I'm having difficulty now because I was fully intending to put them on the streets and the sidewalks. And based on what you're saying, they really shouldn't go there because that's not a goal.
But I think.
That's already something that we do.
But
And we're gonna
if
show
we're
our
saying-
support come budget time.
Yeah,
how
if
many
we're
dollars
saying
we put
though,
to it.
if we're saying though that that's something we really wanna, I mean, there's a certain amount that we're gonna do, but if we say we wanna do more than that, I think that's why they're up here with us. That was my
Okay.
take. It needs more of a focus than what we're currently doing.
I just feel like as a city, granted, we're a small city. But we have a lot of people who care about the place where we live, and we do too. And basically, we spent about an hour on goals. This will be like another hour. That's like 2 hours on our goals. I mean, some communities, some cities, they sit down for a couple hours and they have a special goals session, and they have a little time to kind of hash some of these things out. So, which we are doing now, but we are running up against our time. So.
But we've got all the time that we're willing to devote to it.
I'd like to see us group it and then vote. That's my, maybe somewhere along the line.
Anyone else want?
Group it how, I guess, would be my question. What would you group together? I mean, what would
Well, I think Tanya has a great start with doing that. She's got things that fit under repairs and maintenance and then
New project.
new projects, so that's kind of one way to do it, and maybe there's a, let's see, with the low hanging, the lower price ones, they could, maybe we could group some of those together, so it's one dot gets all those things done instead of
Yeah,
not wasting the dot.
that's a good way to do it, yeah, a group of minor projects that like give them a pass to go, so.
Well,
Yeah, I'll go with whatever.
I think we all
that
came
is.
here with the idea of ones that we wanted to put on. So let's move forward and put those dots on, and
See where they
and then see what we want to do afterwards. We're not, by putting the dots on, we're not saying this is the end of the process.
Oh, okay.
I think this is just another step in the process to move forward to where we as a council want to move with our goals.
Well, I mean, if that's the will of the council, I just didn't come with ones in mind because I'm still confused.
Okay.
So, because it's a lot of goals and a lot of possible new projects, and certainly the existing priorities. We have the roads and the sidewalks and
Well,
things.
some of them probably aren't gonna get any dots anyway, and then at least we could thin a few things out. It would make the grouping easier. Okay.
Well,
And just because these dots are there doesn't come across as clear direction that this council says, because we put these dots on, the majority got the dots, is where we want you to go. We're not making that decision now. In my mind, we're not making that decision. We're saying, we're giving our fellow council members ideas where we individually want, and we're giving some idea to the public where we want. But those dots to me are not the end all, the final.
okay. I appreciate your time for the discussion.
Yeah.
For sure.
Can we see what the audience wants before we put our dots up?
Sure.
I mean,
Anybody in the
there might-
audience want to pipe in and give us some thoughts?
Right here.
Really?
Sure.
What is this loop thing you're talking about?
What?
Great Lakes Loop?
Is it David?
Hi, Tanya. Yeah.
How are
David
you?
Ostick. Well, I'm well.
Yeah.
Unblock me from Facebook and you'll see some of my stuff. Actually, pretty.
Mayor.
Well, the Hillary, she lost. So
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Anyway. What is the loop thing you're referring to?
Oh, it's so people put up goals. Scott, you explain this. This is your
I understand. Yeah,
He
no,
he was at the meeting.
What's $100
okay,
loop
you were at
thing
the
is.
meeting. I just felt like things. It was hard for me to visualize all of them and make a decision with 10 choices.
Tanya, I think he wants to know what actually the
Oh, you
loop
can't
is.
hear me. Okay.
No, I can hear just fine. I'm specifically asking about the loop.
The loop
It's
in
the loop registers the marina.
Advertise in this.
For advertising, basically,
It's okay, so it's marketing towards
The
boats
marina.
that are.
And the
Well,
city.
folks that come around. Sorry, David. I'm
That-
sorry
that's
about
okay.
that.
No
I
problem.
just thought you meant this. I thought you said this grouping, and you said loop.
No, I totally understand, no problem at all.
Use the microphone.
Glad we got that cleared up.
It's been a long day for me. I'm
We're
sorry.
getting short on time. Let's
Yeah, I know.
put our dots up
You
so
gotta
we
go.
can get this done before
Got the
the next
cross the
cross
Ts.
keys.
Yep.
I thought it was like the wooden trail piece.
How about if I just put it right here?
Downtown beautification. That's why I'm putting mine. There.
No.
Will they count?
But it has
Check out my list, I would have.
pipes.
I do know. Promenade tables.
I guess I'll put this
Love
here.
it.
I don't know.
I see the way you guys are doing it. You're putting these for pavilion and you're putting this for table.
No, that's, they're all in the same square.
It's the same thing with the tables, so it's a gather.
I'm with Steve putting my, I'm still doing it, Steve. We can put multiples on, right?
So you, because he left the pavilion off, Scott left, so this is pavilion combination.
So let's do those two.
I mean, $6,000.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wow.
See, I think this should just be like. I don't have a cold.
I've been sitting next to her.
I keep thinking
I
I keep thinking this virus is gone and
It hangs on. It never goes away. And then I go with grandkids and they got it.
well, I thought it was a lot better than this. See, this should be.
Give me one.
Well, I wanted to vote for this, but I don't want to vote for that. They got them together, so I can't vote, so I can't vote for it.
I told Brian, I said, let's go. And then Brian says, well, I think if we did it, if we got together and said, hey, let's put it up. We'll probably get some good prices.
I know, but I like that green.
Oh, you know what, that's a good idea.
Not quite sure.
So how would we?
You vote for my chief, greenhouse gas and I'll pull it over.
I don't think there's anything,
That's income.
Yeah, so that people could comment as we're having.
if we started changing I think once they're done with
See,
that.
that's
Oh,
what,
yeah.
that's what I did with the downtown.
I tried to raise, Steve and I were, I was trying to raise him, he wouldn't match me.
Deborah's going down.
Well,
I'll
so
see
it's
you.
like-
I was because I put mine on.
Who has white dots?
Are they yellow?
Oh, but if I
Oh, they're
put
yellow.
two of mine on there,
You can't see.
Nobody put on
put the three on.
We put down a brick and mortar.
I think
Oh, I wonder. Well, then I could put the rest of mine here.
We got 6 minutes.
So guys,
Folks,
no,
To wrap this up,
I offered to help put them up, but they wouldn't. They tried to sell them.
I'm hanging out. I'm gonna give them.
I'm grateful of it, but I can't dance without music.
What this is.
Well, I
A little bit.
Oh, that's right, yeah,
I
that,
just bumped you right into it.
I know. I would do all that.
So.
Pokemon stickers. I have over from our Don't forget.
That's why you kind of look
Verify what the date was, because we're doing this. So we got it, we know that it's submitted.
See, okay. That's helpful. Thanks for indulging.
You know, we have
Across the street, there's a big parking lot.
Yes, you can.
In honor of women.
It costs you more to say 100 versus
we got 6 minutes and we gotta wrap this up.
Somebody push that
It's just a
around.
lovely group of women.
But
Must be in-
Yeah, I just thrown on that one because that isn't what it said.
Put a cheap one on there.
Cheap one?
Decorations.
Not getting scored.
Yeah.
Well,
That'd be nice.
that's the only one so far. Down there.
That's money we can do. If we end up with extra money, we can always look at the list and say, let's add this and this.
I go down there today. They have just
In case Tom Senior makes it, you know, we're contract.
That's gonna happen, sure. Let me give you a blank check already. Yeah, we good.
First thing I do is fix all the roads.
Yeah.
Fix all the damn roads.
Yeah, well, at least I didn't promise.
All right, we got all our dots up. Thank you all for doing that. I think what we've agreed is we're gonna get the tallies and then look at this again at another date. Is that, council's okay with that? I would say as soon as we can do that again. Throw that back on staff, figure out when we can sit down and do this again. All right. So at that point, then we're adjourned. We got a couple of minutes for the next meeting, so.
City Council had given indication that they wanted to make application to improve 3 of the parks alphabetically. Funnel Field would primarily just be a bathroom replacement. There will be an entry sign, contingencies, and a recognition plaque, which the state of Michigan requires you to buy. That's them on the back, which is certainly worthy. So the idea would be to replace the bathroom up at the Little League fields. Those are all but, apparently they do use them, but it's hit and miss. So that would be a $146,000 expense. We'd be seeking $80,000 from the state of Michigan, on the Funnel Field grant. G Park is pretty much the same as what we had applied for last year. Perimeter fencing, we have adjacent neighbors that are stretching their boundaries and where they're putting their stuff. So we'd be fencing it on 2 sides, on the north and on the west side, where we have residences. The south and the east side is bordered by streets. We'd also be looking at an ADA compliant play structure with the engineered wood fiber fall protection. We're going with the engineered wood fiber because we've already got that at that park, so we would basically be expanding the border, putting in the wood fiber as well as the play structure. Entry sign as well, 3 ADA compliant parking spaces with the accessible sidewalk, recognition plaque. Contingencies, and what we're doing is we're looking at adding some in-kind labor so that DPW, when we're actually putting the play structures together, that will count towards our local match. $84,800 project. We're looking for state funding of $39,800. And Goodrich Park, a little bit of a reduction from the prior grant because we're doing a number of these things. The overlook is the primary one. But we're looking at an ADA compliant swing set with the board in place rubber fall protection, which is pricey. Splash pad fencing, security cameras, another entry sign, 3 cooking grills. I originally had 4, but I dropped it to 3 because the 4th would be a large family cooking grill. One of those little items that is snuck into one of these. Striping 4 new ADA parking spaces. That was kind of a recommendation from the DNR rep who was out there last year. The parking spaces by the overlook will be done with the overlook improvements, and it would be the ones closest to the ramp by the marina, primarily the marina parking, and then 2 over by closer to the pavilion. Contingencies, recognition plaque, and again the installation cost. So that's a $77,800 project, and we're looking for $35,000 from the state of Michigan. And those, we will roll those local match. We'll put all of the budgetary items in next year's fiscal budget. We have to apply for these by April 1st, which is Monday. I'd rather do it by Friday versus coming in on a weekend. And we are required to have a public hearing for receipt of any comments from the general public or council.
So that is where we are. So this is the opportunity for public to weigh in on this, as well as council, I'm sure. So
Those are the 3 out there on the
Yes. Yep.
standing thing there.
Yep. And I have my disclaimer at the bottom on all of these. Final design and product type are dependent on financing and availability. So if you see something up there and come next spring when we get the grant, we're ready to put them in and we call up game time and they say, well, we discontinued that swing set, then we'll put something of comparable substitute.
Is Goodrich Park in the TIFA district?
It is.
So they can use TIFA funds for it.
Yep, and that's what our plan is that the $37,800 for the local match would come from TIFA. The other 2 would be coming from the city's general fund of about $106,000.
Good.
So we're looking at $132,800 would be if we got the grants as we submitted. That would be the city's cost to make all this happen, if we got the grants. Is that correct?
I'll go with your math right now. It's late in the day.
I'm just reading off what I see
Oh,
here.
yes.
I just
Correct.
want people to know that
It's in the resolution.
It is.
So if the grants don't get approved, we're not doing the project.
If the grants don't get approved, what we will do, what we did this last year is we'll come back to council and we'll say, all right, we budgeted the $132,000. Where do you want that money to go? So it'll be a limited basis as far as what park improvements are done for next fiscal year.
Should buy a couple of picnic tables.
So at this point, we're in the public hearing. Is there any public that wants to make any statements or ask any questions about this specific thing? Is there any council that wants to bring anything up?
When will we know? You got any, did they have any?
They will advertise that the grants would be awarded in October. They were more like January. And what they've done is they've been inundated with more requests than they have in past years. Because that just kept moving out. They do update us and say, well, it's probably going to be November. Yeah, it's probably going to be December, but not likely because December you got a lot of holidays and a lot of staff that are missing. So I think last year it was a January notification.
All right. Anything further? Okay, well then we'll close the public hearing and move on to the next one, which is the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for the March 26th meeting.
Second.
Been moved in second, is there any discussion?
I have one question. Page 2, Howmet Aerospace, $300,000. What is it say? Site prep, what is this?
That is a TIFA approved 50% payment towards site improvements out at Plant 10 for potential future expansion of that facility. It will be $300,000. I believe I'm drawing a blank as to what the total cost is, but that's a share of basically the incentive for the future expansion. We've partnered with the state of Michigan to try and lure an expansion with some job creation at that facility. Right now, it's looking like it would be over a $100 million investment, and I've drawn a blank as to what the job creation is.
I heard 300 jobs with a full 3-shift stance.
Yep.
100 million?
Yes. Wow. It's a whole new plan.
Federal government kind of money.
Well, how much got it?
I guess they do.
We just want to help them bring those jobs to our community.
Right.
Would this be part of there's gonna be a 50% tax abatement?
I would anticipate that they do apply for tax abatement. The investment includes personal property, which is basically excluded from abatements at this point.
Would this be in addition to that,
This,
or part of that?
well, the $600,000 is actually a cash investment. The tax abatement would be a reduction in the taxes owed. So yes, there would be an additional, with council approval, an additional incentive with the tax abatement.
So to be clear, this is $300,000 from TIFA for
Correct. For this fiscal year and another $300,000 in next fiscal year.
And the expansions on White Drive?
Yeah, Plant 10. There has been, and they have already started doing a significant amount of clearing. We've gotten a couple of phone calls in regards to the trees being removed.
So it's, so, and TIFA funds can be spent out of the district?
Nope, that's in the district.
Oh, that is in the,
Yep.
oh, White Lake Drive is in the district, okay.
It's gerrymandered.
That's a lot of money.
And keep in mind, it was 2019 2020, where they expanded the plants on Misco Avenue, which was 100, over 100, well, I think it was 99 million. They estimated 100, so you're looking at $250 million in the last 5 years invested in our community. And the jobs that go with it.
And the wear and tear on the roads. So hopefully we're getting enough tax money from them.
Well,
Except the TIFA money doesn't go to roads.
TIFA money has gone to roads, and we'll be looking at doing that when we revise their development plan.
Okay. Satisfied with that, Scott? Your answer?
Yes,
You
I'm
understand.
satisfied with the answer.
Okay.
I'm not satisfied with the expenditure, but
Understood.
I'm satisfied with the answer.
Are there any further questions? Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no.
No,
Okay, consent agenda is approved. Next up is messages from the mayor, city council, city manager. Daniel.
Just two things. One, I would, just in case anybody was at the meeting when, Wayne Puma came up about the snowmobiles, I'm gonna correct you in public, Scott, so be prepared. Just that was a referendum. It was, there were 3 times that somebody tried to get snowmobiles on the bike trail, and the 4th time was a referendum where city vote, and it was the White Lake Area Chamber of Commerce that pushed it. And then I think we had to designate, the road path that they would use, so.
Correct.
Yeah, and I can understand that not every detail of city business going back that long. It's been a 2012, so. For some strange reason, I remember that. And then I just wanted to, thank, Tom for providing me with some comments on the survey for the senior citizens, and Scott Brown for giving me his take on it. 2 people who on council who said they were interested in, seeing what's going on at this point. So thank you very much for reading my email over the weekend.
So? Yep.
I would like to, I'll tag on a little bit to the snowmobile thing. It's not exactly the same thing, but this last year, the snowmobiles were allowed to use that part of the sidewalk that goes past Tannery Bay. And as a result, the sidewalks did not get plowed. There's a lot of people there that walk their dogs, or just go out and walk for health and everything. And I'd like to see it changed for next year so that, and there's not very far that they can go on that part of the sidewalk either, just a little bit past the oak. I'd like to see it so that that sidewalk is blocked off again for the coming year.
you're saying you want it so the snowmobiles
So that they can't go
can't
down.
use it and that it's
Right.
plowed for people to walk
Yes,
on it.
I'd like to get it plowed.
Don't we?
We're boxed in there. I mean, that's the only place that we can get out to walk. Most people have,
Don't we have a gate on that bridge that we close in the wintertime that goes down that
We,
road?
and of course, I may be wrong. But I believe that we amended the ordinance to allow it, and we have opened those gates the last couple of years.
Okay.
Because we had I shouldn't say concern, desire from the snowmobilers to be able to go down there and access the lake further south. And I believe we amended the ordinance to allow that. So it would take a council amendment. We'll bring something back at a work session well before the snow flies.
I hope that, I mean, I think it was only this year. It
Yeah,
seems to
it's
me
been-
that in previous years, it was blocked off for the snowmobile.
Yep. It's been recent that we changed it.
See, if we fix that park there, they wanna get on the lake, is that the idea? Is that what they're mainly wanting to use that for?
I think they were wanting access to Eagles.
The Eagles
Oh.
and Mill Pond, I think.
Well, they can't,
Are they allowed to use
they
Main
can't
Street?
go, they're not allowed to use the streets there is my understanding.
They're allowed to use the streets as the shortest distance out of town. Correct, Roger?
They can't use the curb street, Lake Street, Division Street, and Mears. They can't use it all except to cross.
And that's a curb street, no,
They can use Main Street to get to the lake?
No,
No?
I don't believe so. Did we open that with the?
I'm not sure if we did or not.
Yeah, I can't swear to that one.
There's a lot of unknowns here. I think maybe
Clarify.
we would ask staff to look at things and then come back to the council with.
Really?
Yeah.
So we all know what we're talking about.
We'll bring the ordinance
Yeah,
back to a
I
work
think that's
session.
the right idea. Okay. Steve,
I have nothing tonight.
I have nothing.
The only thing I was gonna bring up is the White Lake wayfinding, that wayfinding that was up behind us somewhere here. Just throw it out, see what you guys think. I think if we look at doing that, as far as, I don't think it should be a city goal, I think it should be a community goal. I think it should be something that the townships in the city, both cities, and maybe even through cooperation with the chamber, let them run with it, give them some ideas, maybe some help. But
Need some money?
exactly, and that takes it off our goals, and they can run with that down there. I think that might be it, because they're always looking for stuff to do down
I have spoke to the chamber and some of the Montague City Council members about this wayfinding, and I think everybody's in support of that we need to do a better job of helping visitors to our community find their way around to the
to the Duck Lakes.
To the good
and
things
the
that this
stuff out in
community
Minor
offers.
Park and all the outlying areas, all the stuff in town, both towns and everything else. I think it would behoove everyone to do that, so. And they're a big point group, I would think, and that's all I have.
All right. I guess I'd like to say something about our own Beth Beeman, who recently was, she snuck out on us. But I want to acknowledge that she was recognized by the Paul Harris Foundation, I believe it is, for her second time for it amounts to significant donations to the Rotary International, which she's a member of. So she's doing a great job for the city and for the community. So she's another wonderful person we have on staff and in this community. So I'd like to acknowledge that. Scott, do you have anything?
I have nothing this evening, Your Honor.
All right. That moves us to public comment. Is there any public comment on anything? Yes, Daniel?
Did I miss a vote on the resolution for the parks?
That was the public hearing. The vote is coming up.
Oh, the vote's coming up.
Yes.
Okay, this is a little skewed, okay.
I kind of looked at it myself too, and
Okay.
but we have to have a public hearing on it because we're asking for government money. We want to hear from the public.
Okay.
With no public comment?
I actually would mind. If
Yes, please.
It's appropriate to make a
Yes,
comment.
it is. Okay.
Do I step up to the podium or how do you want me
If
to do
you,
it?
everyone can hear you if you want to step up to the podium or you want to do it from there.
Well, I'm not quite certain. I don't have my glasses on. What is one of those items on your whiteboards up there? Is there anything, any new news on the clearing of the maintenance of the Colville Parkway riverbank that you and I have talked about in the past, and that you've assured me is in progress? Is that budgeted for, or is that just lip service?
That's not lip service.
Okay. Well, I talked to Brian Armstrong, and he said that it seemed to be something that they would like to do as well. I just want to see. I mean, it's not a big deal, and I'm sure it's nice to have it wild and natural. But I think two things. I think that limits the public access to the river. And in that particular little section of water there is heavily attractive to fishermen. in certain time, I'm not a fisherman, so I'm with great respect, I don't know exactly what periods of time that is. I know salmon run in the fall and things like that. But what happens is, and I'm certain it's not intentional, but what happens is with limited access to the river like that, it makes coming onto my private property all that more appealing, and people are willing to take risks and come onto the posted no fishing. It's private land where the public land that they should have access to is not kept, and it's not accessible. But it really puts me in a funny position. You're setting me up because now I'm the bad guy when I go down and I ask people to not fish there because I'm trying to protect my mother's liability. You know, in her 80s, I don't think she should have to worry about people having some kid drown down there and having her be liable for it, because the property is still in her name. And I think that there's something that's maybe not quite completely considered when it comes to the fact that real estate there, that the city, put, hundreds of thousands of dollars into Goodrich Park. And then poor Colville Park sits there underfunded. And it's just as viable. It's a beautiful piece of land. And I just think that the riverbank would attract a lot of people to that side of the river where it would be absolutely most appropriate for them to throw a hook in the water. So I think I don't know if I'm using the right words, but I think you kind of get where I'm coming from on this whole thing. So I just wanted to come tonight, see all my friends, express that idea, and hope for the best. I hope that it finds its way up onto the whiteboards in some way up there. Thank you very much. And if you need to know, I'm David Hostic. I represent 4454 Dowling Street in my view.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other public comment? All right, we'll move on. I don't believe we have any old business.
No, sir.
Okay, new business, resolution 2421, Parks and Recreation grant applications.
I'll move for resolution, resolution 2411, 2024 Parks and Recreation grant applications.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Second.
Moved in second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Cavallo,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Sittenga,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2411 is approved. Next is resolution 2412, 2-year tree maintenance and brush pickup bid.
I will move resolution 2412, the updated maintenance and brush pickup.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
We didn't get actual figures this time like we did before, but.
Brenda and I wrestled with that because with 3 bidders, it was all over the place. I don't know if she's got them with her.
Because there's so many variables, so I made a grid and it got really
So many
complicated.
inches at this price and then so many more inches
Yep.
at that price.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we kind of added up all of them, and that's where Ted's came out with the lowest overall pricing for the removal, grinding, trimming, and emergency services, and then Jelinek definitely for the lowest on brush. And I think Jelinek came in about $2,000 less than what we currently budget. So that certainly is good news.
Neither one of them had any problems with only getting the partial part of it instead of all of it?
Correct. Brian Armstrong spoke with both of them, and they were okay. Certainly for Jelinek, they've bid on projects before. This kind of gets their foot in the door, if you will. This will be, I think, the first contract we've had with Jelinek. One thing I want to point out is that Ted's is obviously our preferred emergency service contractor, but in years past, they haven't always been readily available. And when you got a tree across, bless you, across a road, you need somebody there immediately. So I think our secondary will be Jelinek, and then we'll look at Getter Cut was, I think, high on all of them. But just to let you know, because I know that's come up before when we've had bills, in the bills payable, that it was an emergency and it wasn't Ted's. It's only because they weren't available. But they're our first go-to every time.
I did want to ask, is that based on a flat monthly fee or an hourly rate, or how do they get that
For which one?
for the brush removal?
For the brush removal, it's an estimate. Basically, we say you go up and down every street in the spring, and I don't know. I think their bid is a lump sum.
Okay.
So if it takes them 20 hours or 500 hours, they got to go down every city street once, make one pass.
So what dollar value are we committing to? That was, I guess, my question.
Well,
And I understand.
it changed. We actually flip flop. In years past, our public works crew would go out and mark every tree that was required for trimming and removal, as well as the stump grinding. And then the contractors would go out and they would, look at every tree. In theory, some of them may or not have done that, and give us an actual dollar amount. This is more a piecemeal type, where we've turned around and we've said if it's a 6-inch tree, what is the price to remove? And I think it's Brenda's probably got them there.
I have the range.
The range.
Range, right.
But we go with a 6-inch tree, an 8-inch tree, a 10-inch tree, a 12-inch tree for a regular removal as well as an emergency removal. That gives us a lot more flexibility to go out there and be, I guess, maybe a little more proactive versus, plus we might have some that we say, oops, we missed this one, and it does need to be removed. So it's a piecemeal bid versus versus a lump sum. And what we do, Brian has been very good at staying within the budgetary amount, and we look at year to year with some additional. So Brian knows that if he's got $30,000 in tree removal, he knows, based on that, going through, and when he hits that 30,000, he's pretty much done. Unless there's the need for additional, like going over the sidewalks last summer by 20,000.
Is there some stump grinding involved with some of them too? Or
Yep, stump grinding is included with all. I mean, that's a separate price, but that's included. We do that with every tree that's removed.
Oh, okay.
I guess I still haven't got the answer that I'm looking for. Is that
You want a specific dollar amount?
well, barring unforeseen circumstances, I mean, is this a not to exceed limit? Do we have, or I mean, we're agreeing to commit city funds. We have no idea what we're agreeing to.
You will be agreeing to a maximum amount provided in the budget.
So essentially, we're approving it.
That's coming up.
So we'll be sitting down with the budget and deciding.
Correct.
That.
Yep.
Okay. So.
And then when that budget is determined, then Brian knows with those those itemized costs what his limit is.
I'm just. So essentially, we're just proving the agencies.
Correct.
And that,
Yep.
okay. I just didn't want someone saying, well, you agreed to an open-ended check. Which, at this point it is, but until we get to the budget time, it's not.
No, not even at this time is it open.
Well, no, it's not, but we don't know what we're agreeing to. We're agreeing that they're gonna do work for us at a certain
Correct.
rate.
Yep. And then you will determine what the maximum dollar amount would be.
Okay.
Does that go into effect right away then? So this applies to what's left of this year's budget, these new numbers?
No, this will start with the next fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
We have a contract that takes us through this fiscal year. In place.
Correct. Yep.
Yes.
And that's why we bid it out again.
Okay, I'm satisfied. Any further
And
discussion?
we thought this was going to make it less confusing.
Should have went with my grid, right?
I'm just glad we're all understanding this. Okay. Roll call, please.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Sittinga,
Yes.
Kabbalah,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2412 is approved. Next is White Lake Chamber of Commerce request for kayak adventure series. Anyone need any explanation?
I was, the first time I came across that, I don't know if I got, is that a fishing program? Is that what that is?
That's my understanding. It's kayak fishing, from
Okay,
kayaks.
That's what I thought, but it doesn't say fishing, fishing adventure, so I didn't know.
They want to make
It
it.
says anglers.
100 to 150 plus their family.
Fishermen.
Right.
Fish on a kayak, it's an adventure. Like calling it an adventure, it makes it more appealing, I guess, to a wider range than just say it's a fishing contest.
Right.
And as a fisher person, I will tell you that kayak fishing is growing in leaps and bounds.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Huge.
I will make a motion to approve their request.
I'll second.
Been moved in seconded, is there any further discussion? I don't believe this is a roll call because it's no money involved on our part, so all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. They have our approval. Last up is public comments, last chance for anyone to public comment. No? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.